The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are the content creator's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Essex County College. The material and information presented here is for entertainment and informative purposes only. It should not be considered as professional advice or a substitute for seeking professional guidance.
What is up, everyone? It's your girl, Jaesbuggin, and I'm back again with another episode of What You Working With? Okay, y'all, so today, y'all told me y'all want to be a neurodivergent barista. Well, guess what? We about to find out what a neurodivergent barista is. Woo! Okay, so we got my girl,
Yadira.
Oh, we got my girl Yadira in the building. So tell me a little about yourself.
So I am a neurodivergent individual who is a barista. I also plan on studying behavioral neuroscience because I want to understand more about my own brain, and kind of like what happens in it whenever I get overwhelmed or whenever like it comes down to do any task. And that's kind of the premise of what my job is, because I am working in like a food industry, and I feel like food industries are notoriously known for being really fast paced and also just very chaotic, and it can be very toxic. So I guess like this is a very different outlook that hasn't really been talked about much.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know I never even heard of like what neurodiversity is, which we will get into what it is. But when you came to me and told me, I was like, wait, huh? So we're going to get into that. So right now, are you nervous? Are you excited? Like, what are your feelings on being on this podcast today? Like,
I'm excited. I had a friend tell me a while ago that I was like meant to be interviewed. And I don't know, and I feel like that fed my ego a little bit too much at one point, but at the same time, I like to talk.
Yeah.
So that's probably why she said that. So like, I love conversation, and yeah.
Yeah, so let's give it up. Let's give it. Okay then. Okay. Yeah. Why cut? All right, so we're gonna get right into it. So, like, where do you work? Like, what is this barista place like? Where do you work?
I work at Ethan and the Bean in Morristown. So they have two locations, and the first location is in Little Falls, which is actually much closer to where we are now. And my actual job is about half an hour away, but it's a much bigger space. So it also allows for more people to be employed, and just to have different, I guess, more different types of groups of people coming in to work with us. Ethan and the Bean is a nonprofit. So so like the family, they are a family who has a child with autism, and the whole purpose of Ethan and the Bean was creating a workspace to employ people who are on the spectrum or who are neurodivergent, and that also falls for people who have autism, Asperger's, ADHD, any other form of intellectual disability or intellectual disability.
Yo, like, I don't know. I never heard of a place like that will allow people who have autism, and not just like one person, but anybody who has it, they're eligible to work and earn money and be just like everyone else in the world. I feel like what they did with this nonprofit store, yo, they ate down. What y'all think? What y'all think? Like,
yeah, I think it's beautiful because they're being treated like actual human beings.
Yeah,
and not like
for one.
And they're seeking people who have those disabilities to help them create skills for future jobs, because some people, like, many people don't really know, but there are many people who have autism, like, are on the spectrum, are neurodivergent, and are like CEOs of companies, or lawyers, or doctors, and that's so stigmatized. So even if they could start just like by literally learning to bake by following instructions, like that's something, and they are contributing to that.
Yeah, I feel like we need to stop letting people's disability like define who they are when it's not who they are, and that's stunting a lot of people's growth in life because they're not being, given opportunities because of their disability, because people feel like they're not capable of enough, or like if people feel like that's who they are, but it's not who they are. It's a part of who they are, but it doesn't define who they are as a person, or their abilities.
You are not autism, like you are not ADHD, like that is something that you live with and that you learn to live with.
Yes, like I just think this is such a dope I feel like this is a dope place to work at.
It is.
Because when you think of like a coffee shop or something, like you think of fast paced, where my coffee at.
Yeah,
like,
think of Starbucks.
Exactly. You think literally a Starbucks, and then you go in there and then you like, I want this, and then you sitting there looking around like, are they making my drink? Like, but how is the atmosphere different? Because these are people who are a little bit slower to do these tasks. It's not saying that they are slow, but they're just slow to do them because
they need more support.
Time.
Yeah,
they need
it's
time,
more instructions.
Yeah, so like, how can you like explain like a day to day of like you coming in and you saying like, you know, this is what it is, and like people looking at y'all like, where's my coffee now? Nah. So like, can you explain that?
In all honesty, when I first started working there, I was a little shocked at how much understanding came from the people who walked in, because Morristown is kind of like Montclair, but like if anything more New York City. Like it has those people, it has the yoga moms, it has people who are like, there's a bunch of companies there, a bunch of restaurants, and they are all fast paced. They come in, they want their coffee, and they're out. But people who walk in there, they have to know, like I don't think I've ever seen somebody who was impatient, because the whole purpose of it when you walk in is that there are signs that say like mistakes are okay. Or we have pamphlets that says like, get to know our story, Ethan and the Bean. So we haven't really, at least from when I've been working, I haven't had that. But when I was being interviewed for the job, they asked me like, what would you do if somebody was, let's say, super impatient and was just like, are you kidding me? Like, why is my coffee taking so long? Like, it's going in it with empathy instead of rudeness, and that's a big thing, because I mean, I feel like we've all experienced like a rude person who's taking our order or something because they're having a bad day or somebody else made them upset. So it's empathy's a big, like, it goes a long way, and we were actually trained, like that goes into our training, and patience, because whenever we get busy, which we do specifically in the summer, we have to let the customers know, like, hey, we're a little backed up. Like, your drinks will be out in a couple of minutes. We haven't had an issue yet, but, you know, I'm sure there probably will be. So it'll be interesting when having to kind of handle that, because the whole sole purpose is to get other people to understand that some people can do the task. It just may look a little longer. Well, it could take a little longer, but it might look a little different to how you do the task.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like even just saying like, you know, hey, your coffee's going to take, you know, this amount of time, that's like showing like, you know, you're ready to communicate with that customer so they understand fully. Even though this is a store where they're expecting it to be a little bit, you know, like, okay, I shouldn't rush them because of the circumstances, but at the same time, it's like that also still goes a long way as well. And I feel like this store, it changed the narratives. Ew, that does not sound right. It changes the narrative of how we look at people with autism, who with Asperger's or with ADHD. Like, it changes the narrative because it's showing them in a different light, that they can be calm, they can have patience, they can work, like they can do like many things that we don't even think of. Like, I'm like,
oh my God, like
basic tasks.
My
basic tasks and better than us.
Yes.
My coworker, he makes the best matcha. Like, we've had people come back and be like, can we please have another one? And he's so happy at making it. Like, and we actually had a team meeting yesterday, and they asked us to write down like what we think we're good at, and then what we feel like we need more help in. And he wrote down that he can make really good matcha, and everybody was like, yes, you can.
Like, that feel, even though I feel like just seeing that they're happy that they're like able to do something like that and so good, and that just brings joy to my heart, because it's like it's nice to see like you happy, and like I just like that, because it's just like, wow, like you look at you, like you got it. Like, I just like to big them up, because it's a whole lot of like, you got on. Like, I'd hate that. So shout out to all my peoples out there. It's Autism Awareness Month. Like, please be aware.
Yes.
Like, they taking over, and I like that, because look at Elon Musk. Like, electric car. Who would have thought of that? Oh, okay then. So I know we briefly discussed what neurodivergents are, but do you have like a more
like a broader like explanation?
A more like in detail explanation of what it is.
Yeah, so like I guess I would would place it in like neurodiversity, and just like spreading the awareness of it. So neurodiversity is actually a movement within it. It kind of started in Europe and it's made its way to America, which it's really sad. We would have hoped to have like more of it by now, but we're working on it, which is why places like this, like Ethan and the Bean, are rising. So neurodiversity is just, I think it's an ethical standard. It's like you are not judging the person who you are employing or even just like the student that you have or the person that you are based on your disability. Because I don't believe it's an obligated duty to show your disability, but you can disclose it if you want. Yeah. And a lot of people do choose to, like, the whole point of neurodiversity is disclosing it, like having no shame. Yeah, exactly. And being so open about it. Like when I began to be open about my ADHD and kind of really stand up for myself and talk about my struggles and how I can do the same tasks as other people. It just looks different. Yeah. That it was a shockwave for a lot of places in my life, specifically school. Yeah. Because I had professors look at me like I had a really high position in the school. I was the president of student government. And I went on to win an award. I went on to like do really cool things. Yeah. And people were like, how could somebody like who has like those issues go on to do those things? But that's the whole thing, is that you're talking about a human being, and a human being is complex. Exactly. And people have different factors to them, and just because something looks shiny doesn't mean that it's really all that bright. And I think that there's a lot of judgment. I had a professor who looked down on me because I struggled in math, and she said to me, like, you're the president of the student body. Like you know, like, well, how could, like, that doesn't mean anything.
It didn't take math to be the president.
Like, it didn't take math to do that. Like, it really, that doesn't, but those are the stigmas. Yeah. And breaking that stigma where I was like, I can be both of those things. I am a neurodivergent person. We all thrive in different
areas of our lives. And you thrive more in like more advocacy work than math. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I think that was the premise of, like, that's just the premise of who I am. That has nothing to do with the title that I held. Like, and people, I had a lot of people look at me very differently when I began to just openly talk about it. Like, I would take my ADHD meds, like, at the learning center, and I'd be like, yeah, because I'm here to get tutored and I need to focus. Yeah, like, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. We need to normalize it because it has been around for so long.
And it's not talked about in a positive way enough. It's only like, only in a negative way. Oh yeah, she got problems. You know how she act. Like, no, like, stop.
There's always negative connotations to it, and that and I'm glad that there are people. And there are professors. I do have professors who are like, shout out to Dr. Lee, because he's so real. Like, whenever I have conversations with him specifically about neurodiversity, he's so understanding. And when I told him that I worked at this place, he was like, I have to go get a sign now that says it's okay to make mistakes, specifically within STEM. Like, because it's a science course. Like, people don't realize a lot of people who are in STEM are neurodivergent. Wow, like, that has nothing to do with whether they can, like, know chemistry. Like, that, if anything, when you have ADHD, you tend to hyper focus on things. So, like, I have something like that. I think it's like ADHD too. So I hyper focus on things. So, like, if I'm really interested in a subject, I will go out of my way to learn it, and that actually helps me.
Exactly, because it's like you get more details, everything like that.
So people don't really know that. They think that, like, ADHD is like, oh, you're hyper all the time. Yeah, that, like, there's two different types of ADHD. And a lot of times it's been diagnosed in men mostly because men have been, like, the subject to testing. So ADHD actually presents differently in women. And that's not talked about enough.
Do y'all know that? Oh, all right.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I feel really, really good and proud of myself for just contributing to the change in neurodiversity within the workspace, because I wanted to go back to work for a while, but I had previously worked in the food industry and I was constantly overwhelmed. I would cry in the bathroom. Like, I felt like this is something that I can do, but I don't have the headspace to do it. Yeah. And also, who you work under, same thing as, like, who do you have as a professor? It goes a long way. It really does, because understanding and comprehension goes a long way. Like, you want to help someone, you want to build them up, you don't want to tear them down. Exactly. And that's the difference that I feel in my work now.
And I like that, because you are you're seeking your potential by working at this job. So like you said, you were like, you know, overwhelmed at this other fast food job that you were at, and it just didn't fit you. Like, yeah, you was there for the money, but the money not really worth it if your mental is taken over.
Yeah.
And you're not being uplifted, you're not being comforted by your boss, like not comforted, like
comprehended.
yeah, like they're not understanding. They like, do the work or you out.
Right.
And I'm just like, why can't we just be more softer to each other? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I love this idea of Ethan and the, is it Ethan and the Beans?
Yeah, Ethan and the Bean.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Ethan and the Bean. I love this because it's like, it's just softer. Like, you just think to yourself, like, it's an atmosphere I would want to be a part of.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm like
Safe and welcoming
yeah, like,
and
I want to
inviting.
work there.
Yeah.
Like, and you could be yourself. Like, most importantly, you can truly be yourself. I just love that you were able to be confident with your ADHD, and that's what I like how you were able to like say like, okay, you know, I have ADHD and this is what I need to do, and you was able to like show who you are. Like, this is what I'm doing, and no, I'm not ADHD. It's just a part of me. But you didn't live by the ADHD. You wasn't like, yeah, so I got ADHD. I can't be the school president. Oh, yeah, I can't go to college. I got ADHD. Oh, I guess I'm a no. Like, no, you didn't do that. Like, you said, okay, yeah, I got ADHD. You know what? I know what I need to do to be great. And what did you do? You did everything that you did. You was the president. You got awards. You did this. You did that. Like, you did so many great things with your ADHD. And I just want to commend you for saying that. It's not you. It's just a part of you. And you just learn how to deal with it in a different way.
Yeah.
So I just want to commend everyone out there who has autism, ADHD, Asperger's, any type of something that other people make you feel like you're not normal. You are.
Different.
You're just different in a different way. And I commend you for learning how to cope with your disability, or learning how to be like, just learning how to be yourself with it and not being it. That's what I had to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Nah. That's what I had to say. Like, I'm so glad. And I also wanted to ask you, why do you feel like people why do you feel like people are so hard on others who have autism, ADHD? Like, why do you feel like they're just like so hard, no heart, like they're just like looking? Why do you feel that? Like, why do you think people just like, oh, you're not quote unquote normal, you get the boot? Like, why do you feel like people do that?
I feel like a lot of it is really deeply rooted in ableism, and it comes down to the way that people were misdiagnosed and the way that they were diagnosed back in like 40 years ago when they were going into like the psychology field. Because if you look at like some of the first studies, like they would refer to autism, the people who have autism, as the R word. That's how before it became saying autism, the R word was a prevalent word that they used. It was like quite literally the only word they used.
Yeah.
So there came a movement of people saying like, hey, that's actually damaging. Like it's adding to the stigma, because that word is now loosely used to call someone stupid. And it could be someone, you know, who doesn't have autism or who does. Like, people just assume that, let's say you get an answer wrong, you're like, oh, that person is stupid. And then they kind of like draw that back to autism.
Yeah.
And that's like the deeply rooted ableism that's been ingrained, I think, specifically in American culture. Like, we've made fun of people who have autism, and we've seen it in TV shows. We've seen it we've quite literally seen it everywhere. I don't think it was until maybe like a decade ago when the movement really started being like, this is not okay, which it never has been. And now teachers had to shift, because teachers have even said it. Even professors who have gone on to study psychology have used those types of terms. So it's ending stigmas. That's really is what's shifting the narrative of autism, is shifting away from just it being a stigma, but the hatred that comes with it's still there. And it's deeply rooted in ableism. People don't want to put in the work to change their minds and to learn. That's really it.
It started way back when, honestly, you feel, right?
Yeah.
And then it just carried on. So I want to get back to what do you feel like there are any cons of working here? because I do want to shout out to Ethan and Abine again. Like, y'all did the thing. Shout out to Ethan, man.
Yeah,
like,
no, shout out to Ethan.
Keep up
like,
the great work, guys.
Yeah.
like, you the reason for the season. Nah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, are there any cons over here? Like, I want to hear pros and cons, because I feel like even though this is a great job, it may do have some cons or something.
No,
Not to talk down, but like, I just want to know.
Every place, I think that any place that you go to or any field that you walk into, you're gonna have pros and cons.
Yeah.
But the pros in this case for me outweigh the cons, and that's what comes down to, like, looking at the place that you're at. Like, is it good for you? Because do the pros outweigh the cons, or do the cons outweigh the pros?
Yeah.
And I would say, like, the pros have been obviously the working environment, like it being so welcoming. My manager is amazing. She is so understanding, and she emphasizes on communication so much. She's not somebody that I would ever think, like, this woman is going to yell at me.
Yeah.
You know, but that thought is there because it has happened in previous jobs. And I would say the cons is, honestly, for me, it's the fear of interacting with someone who is ignorant, because I am a very passionate person, and at the end of the day, it is a workspace. You have to keep your cool.
Yep.
But, like, I don't tolerate bigotry. Why would I tolerate bigotry? But it's still, like, it's like biting my tongue, if anything.
Yeah.
That's, like, what I'm afraid of. It's like that I'll ever have to come into that interaction, because these people deserve to be treated like any other person, and they deserve to be not misjudged and not.
Exactly.
And the whole point, like, if you're ableist, don't go to Ethan and the Bean. Like,
don't
like
go,
literally
don't.
Like,
go to Starbucks.
Like,
Go to any
Boycott Starbucks.
Go
guys.
go to any other coffee shop.
Local businesses.
Local businesses.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Go to Dunkin'. I don't know.
Exactly.
Like, I don't.
America runs on Dunkin'. Don't copyright me. No. Okay, so I did want to give a quick story, and I want to hear a good story that you have too of working there. So I work at Starbucks, right? And every day we have this one kid. His name is Chris. He's maybe like, you know, Chris. Yeah, he's maybe like 20, 21 or so. He has autism, right? So he religiously comes to the store like every day, like, and he comes like, if he's off from work or before he goes to work, and after work he is at Starbucks, right? So I'm like, man, I love Chris. Like, I'll be like, you want a Chris? Okay then. Like I just love that he feels comfortable enough to come, and like, even though like I'm new to the store, he was able to like take time to get to know me, and I was able to take time to get to know him as well, because sometimes like I know they just like to be stuck with the people they know and not really be able to like change, or change is different. But for him, it's not. Like, he's open to it. He's open to meet new people, and he's open to come every single day. Like, shout out to Chris, because I love him. So shout out to Chris. So do you have any examples of like a relationship or bond that you've built while working here with
customers?
Yeah, customer, or someone that you work with that maybe you was like, oh, this might be hard, or man, I don't know, it seems like this person is this, but like, what? Tell me your experience with that.
So I would say, so we have an assistant manager, and I didn't know that I would have two managers. I met my first manager, and she was like, it's a mixture of people who are neurodivergent, and also people who are neurotypical. So you're not necessarily going to ask, but you kind of like, you're told, like, you know, by the manager, like, who has autism, like, who's on the spectrum or something. My assistant manager, I believe he's on the spectrum. I mean, I never like went up to him to ask him, but he does an amazing job. Like, he's literally the manager of the place. He's like the second manager. And I was so intimidated by him at first, because I think I'm just intimidated by men in general, but not intimidated. I'm afraid of them. I think specifically because I've had really horrible experiences in workspaces.
Yeah. That stigma,
So but then he became, he's probably like, he's just such a nice person. Like, he became a really good mentor, and he does the job so well, and he's so funny, like, he's so understanding. Like, even when I messed up, he's like, oh, you weren't supposed to do that. Like, you know, it's never, I'm no longer afraid. And I think that really helped me, like, a part of me heal, like, my idea of like, all, you know, like, being afraid of men, specifically, like, being
men
afraid.
in charge.
Men in charge.
Trying
Like,
to be perfect.
Yeah. Like that. Like, I don't feel the need to be like submissive in any form. Like, I'm like myself, and he respects that. And that was a really big change for me, because I was honestly petrified at first. I was really scared. And I think he's one of the people that I like when I have shifts with him. He's really, really nice person, and he does the job well, and he trains me. Because I'm still technically training. You learn. We have new specials, so that you're really just learning every month. But yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest like not surprises, but it was a big impact on myself for myself.
Okay, then that's lit. I like that, how even though, you went in like thinking to yourself like, well, maybe this guy is, he might be this way, but he changed your expectations just because of how he was like acting and speaking to you kindly, not like, well, who told you to do it that way? Because I remember I showed you that, like, just being like, you wasn't supposed to do that, but that's how you do it from now on. Kind, sweet, and I love that because,
we need more of that, please.
Not for real. Like, just kind. Like, so I really love that. And that's making you more comfortable, more like, okay, this is a job for me. So I just got to say, if you out there and you are a neurodivergent, you are a neurodivergent and you have autism or you have ADHD or you have Asperger's or you have anything that the world makes you feel like you're not normal, please shout out to Ethan and Abeen. And y'all let me know some other companies, businesses that also help people with autism, people who just are people with disabilities.
Yeah.
If y'all know any of those companies or businesses, please let me know.
To shine more light on them.
I would love to shine more light on them. Like, I love y'all. I'm going to visit. We going to at y'all at What You Working With.
Yes, and please come
shout
through.
Shout out to you, Daryl. Shout out to Big V again.
Hey, guys. It's
Vanessa.
It was great being back. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Thank you for wanting to be a part of
course
the show. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Second episode done, y'all.
Yes.
It's all right.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Peace out. Bug out.
This has been a production of the Essex County College Podcast Club. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.